Can you hear my voice? Yeah, your voice is low. It's quite low.
The rest of the audience can hear me properly, then I think we are ready to begin.
Oke. Untuk mahasiswa bisa dengar nggak suaranya? Nah, Bapak San. Can you speak please a little bit? Oke, jelas. I think they can hear your voice clearly.
Okay, so let's begin
Yeah, yeah. I
uh,
think we can begin.
our session today. And from the beginning, uh, our, according to our contents, we are now in our fourth session, our sharing. Thing we had in was the kind of physics and the steps from conducting uh, context of this to identify we discussed the problems and formulation of hypotheses, objectives, and problem limitations, and how we could find out a problem, know about a problem, what are the sources of the problem. In the next session, we came to literature review and how we cite or paraphrase others' ideas and writings and methods in our own way, in our own style, and citing other key uh, and discuss the stuff when we problem we we know about and we have extensive literature review about problem. So in order to solve that problem, we should have a research design now that how we should conduct a research on solution to the problem or testing our hypothesis, answering our question. This design will involve different methods, techniques, and instruments that we will be using, and we will discuss in detail about those in the class, this session today. So overall, it's an research design is an overall strategy that you choose to integrate different components of research study in a coherent and a logical way, right from data collection to your results and analysis and then drawing conclusion and writing a report. They all come in. You should probably plan a strategy, design a strategy how you accomplish this. So it ensures you effectively address the research problem and it constitutes it's like a blueprint for any research that you are conducting. How do you collect the data, clear the data, analyze the data, and everything. So it all depends on your research problem. So basically, your research problem determines the type of design you can use for your problem. So by this stage, you have your research problem established. So awaken research design helps ensure that your methods matches your research objectives and that you use the right kind of analysis for your data. This could also be your standalone assignment in any research group. If you are conducting research in a group, so maybe you are given a separate assignment uh, uh, on designing a research design. So even in this class today, you can work on at least two assignments before you go for your final assignment of writing a research proposal and presenting it to your supervisor. So maybe I think I would suggest that at this stage, if you start looking for research problem, write something about it and discuss it with your potential supervisor that you feel or you think it is more relevant, suitable for that kind of research problems. Maybe you can come up with something and discussing research design in near future, and it will lead you to a very good research proposal and research uh, project at the end of your degree. Uh, Maybe not in this one, bachelor level or master, maybe later, but it will give you an idea if you starting it from today. Uh, like because you will have ample of time to read about it, and the more you read about, the more you do the literature review, the more you will understand the problem and the tools and techniques that are involved or you are trying to involve in your research design. So, so having decided at this stage, like we know our research problem, so we know the what, and for that what the research problem, we are now we are now have the next question: how are we going to conduct this study? So we will answer some questions in this research design, and a good research design would be to the one which would be able to answer what procedure will we adopt to obtain answers to research questions, how will you carry out the tasks needed to complete the different components of the research process, and what should you do and what should you not do in the process of undertaking the study. Uh, Questions that need to be answered before you can proceed with the study. These questions constitute the core of the research design. And don't forget to leave out all other non-technical, non-research related issues with it, like you need resources to connect, you should consider do you have the available resources, which could be the computational resources, which could be the financial resources, which could be instrumental resources, which could be accessibility problem, there could be privacy issue within your data that some data may not be accessible to you. There could be many things, so you need to consider all those things into account, which we studied in previous session in a little bit detail. So going back to session one, we discussed the steps in the research process. Uh, we discussed that we have these eight research steps. So the first steps was the research, formulating the research problem. Uh, this is the next step is directly after that. That is the research conceptualizing a research design, and we will make all those the next up to seven steps. We have to design and take into account all those steps, how we are gonna conduct those steps in this step number two. So So there are two main functions of this design. So first one is the identification and or development of procedure and logistical arrangements required to undertake a study. And second is to the emphasis on the importance of quality in this procedure to ensure the validity, objectivity, and accuracy. So first, you have to look at the procedure, logistics, tools, techniques, methods, and everything. And then you have to emphasize on the importance of quality. So, which method, tool, technique, and design would best suit you to address your research problem. So, normally, your research problem, we can let's say divide it into uh, take it into three steps, right from considering your aim and objectives and the type of research, design your, and the next are the tools, techniques, methods, and everything. And then you decide at the last your data analysis strategies. So step number one, uh, we have already went through. So you already now have a clear idea about your research question at this stage. When you are designing your research, you are making research design. So it means that you have full command on a problem, and that problem that you know exactly if that is a real problem, not something that has come out from your negligence or your uh, your knowledge that you don't something that you don't know about, and the solution or the answer to that question already exists. Uh, so at this stage, it's not because of the limitations in your knowledge or expertise, but you now know and you have established that this problem exists through your literature review, discussing it with your supervisor, and everything you carried out, and uh, you have now come up with the problem that you are going to solve. So in this session, we will now focus on the further steps that we will be undertaking. So choose a type of research design. So could be qualitative or quantitative, or maybe it could be a mix of these two. It depends, and it depends what tools and techniques and in what kind of form you will have your results, uh, or what data and what form you will collect the data. That defines how if your research design is qualitative or quantitative. We discussed that we have different kind of research types, classes. Apart from qualitative and quantitative, it could be experimental, exploratory, longitudinal, and many things. But at the end of the day, we all of those others could either be qualitative or quantitative. So broadly, we can have our research divided into two main classes that are qualitative or quantitative. So uh, you will hear these terms a lot in this course and further in your research career as well. So things are either qualitative or quantitative in simple terms. So if it's quantitative, you could have a experimental, quasi-experimental, correlational, or descriptive uh, research design. So in experimental, you choose to test the causal relation, involves manipulating an independent variable and measuring its effect on a dependent variable. So in this case, subjects are mostly randomly assigned in groups. So divide your subjects into groups and sample from those groups, usually conducted in a lab or controlled environment. On the other hand, quasi-experimental is somewhat similar to experimental but has limitations in selecting your uh, groups. It involves comparing outcome of pre-existing groups that you don't have much control on it. So often conducted in a natural environment. So higher uh, ecological validity. So it could be a correlation where you use to test whether or and how strongly variables are related, uh, and it could be descriptive where you describe the characteristics and averages, trends, and all the things about certain phenomena, features, object, whatever the object of interest or research interest is. So next, it could be qualitative as well. So conducting this kind of research could be a case study, could be ethnography, ground theory, phenomenology. So it could be a case study, which could be a specific subject, event, place, organization. For example, it, it will not be a general study, it will be limited to a specific place in area. Let's say if you are working in modeling floods or let's say keep it to the floods, uh, and you model how much rain would develop, how much flooding in certain topography, and you do programming and design some model to get to predict a flood in downstream areas. So that's a model that is applicable everywhere, but let's say if you specifically do it for a specific flood that occurred or a specific area in which a flood has occurred or in which you use the model that is that application is specific to that space or that specific flood or event that has occurred. So it is restricted to some object. So data can be collected using a variety of sources and measures focus on gaining a holistic understanding of the specific case. Ethnography is the detailed study in which culture and community or group data is collected by extended immersion and close observation, focuses on describing interpreting beliefs, conventions. So these are the things that you do not uh, you see bring into a quantitative uh, studies. So you cannot quantify these things. So therefore, we have to study it qualitatively. So it could be a grounded theory. You develop a theory by systematically analyzing qualitative data that you have. Or it could be also understanding phenomenology or describing understanding a phenomena by the people's perspective, people's experience. So the third step that we have now is that's the identification of population sampling. So uh, when we conduct research, sampling is a very important um, method component. So if you are studying a population, let's say a population for whatever reason in Indonesia. So you cannot reach each and every person in Indonesia so that we can get an idea about phenomena. So what will you do? You will take samples from a few or very limited portion from that could be able to logically represent the whole Indonesian uh, community. So uh, it depends how and uh, you sample that correctly represent the whole population. So it could be uh, In two ways, you can do this safely. Uh, Two techniques or two methods that we have, which is one is probability sampling, and the other one is non-probability sampling. So in probability sampling, the sampling method that involves randomly selecting a sample uh, or a part of the population that you want to research. It's sometimes also called random sampling. Uh, to quantify as being random, each research unit, that could be person, business, organization in your population, the subject of your interest, must have the equal chance of being selected. So this is usually done through random selecting process like a draw. So every in the population, every person or entity unit has equal chance of being selected. So symbol, it could be, there are many then types of this kind of sampling. It could be simple random sampling, or it could be stratified sampling, it could be systematic sampling, it could be you divide your data into some clusters and then sample from those clusters. Uh, that is something the more, if you want to go to details. Uh, the other one is non-probability sampling, which is a sampling method that uses non-random criteria like the availability, geographical proximity, or expert knowledge of the individual you want to research in order to answer your question. So non-probability is used when the population parameters are either unknown or not possible to individually identify. For example, visitors to a website that doesn't require users to create an account could be from a part of non-probability sampling, because you don't know where the visitor are coming. Let's say you have you have you want to know where your how many people are. Your research is something that you want to that can be, let's say, ec- the data is collected from your website, let's say, and people log in there, people fill the data, let's say some forms there. Uh, let's say they do not require to create an account or register, you don't know who they are, where they come from. So in this case, you don't know, you haven't selected um, the population. So it's, maybe you want to only those people would come uh, who have the internet connection, for example, laptop, they will have their cell phones, whatever. But in that scenario, the whole population may not be represented. So it has also some uh, different types. Could be convenience sampling, depends on what is convenient to you. It could be quota sampling, it could be self-selection, maybe some people voluntarily uh, give you some information or volunteer to join your research. So it could be some other form like snowball sampling. Snowball sampling is like if you are uh, sometimes you have to conduct research in on population that is restricted, to you don't have access, or people do not want to uh, have access to what they are doing because of their or privacy. So you meet one person from their population, and you take information, collect the data from that person, who let you or introduce you to another person who then introduce you another person. In this way, you have a snowball effect, starting from one sample to an it. leads you to other samples with the passage of time. So the next thing, when you have you identify your population and sampling methods, then you choose data collection methods. And this is very important. Uh, you should decide this carefully, uh, and it should be decided in the uh, step number two, that if it's qualitative or quantitative research. So this will determine here. You can say if you have you will be collecting your data in qualitative style or quantitative style. So one method could be a survey method that could be done through questionnaires and interviews. Uh, and questionnaires are more common in quantitative research, and while interviews are more common in qualitative research. So questionnaires are maybe distributed online by phone or by mail or in person. Usually offer closed questions with limited options, and then you have to find a way, and you have to decide. That's another important task, how you design your question. So design that question carefully so that the questions you are asked, if you get your answers to that question in that question from your sample, so that you could draw a conclusion at the end. So it shouldn't be if you are asking, let's say, uh, student satisfaction about some uh, course, and you are asking in the questionnaire, let's say, what did they eat in the breakfast, in their lunch, and dinner. So those things are not relevant to how you get your the satisfaction of students in a course. So you must know what questions you should ask in your questionnaires. And similarly, in interviews, what the questions you should ask your sample uh, to answer to you so that you could at the end draw some conclusion from it. So questions could be consistent data uh, collected from many people. Uh, Interviews more commonly qualitative research conducted by research in person or phone by call. Usually allow participants to answer in their own words. So then you have to uh, draw your own conclusion from what that answer is exactly. It couldn't be simply yes or no answer, but some uh, people may have the same answer to your question, but they may have answered it in a different manner instead of yes or no directly. So you have to find out if it's a yes or no or something else. So ideas can be explored in depth with a smaller group, for example, a focus group, as you, in this case, interviews time consuming, and you focus on specific groups so that you can have an in-depth knowledge of a small group, but in-depth knowledge. So surveys allow you to collect data about opinions, behaviors, experiences, and characteristics by asking people directly, and these are the two methods, questionnaires and interviews. So the next thing is the observation methods. It could be this could be also like we study is quantitative or qualitative. So in quantitative, you systematically counting or counting or measuring. categories and criteria determines in advance. So, on the other hand, qualitative observation, taking detailed notes and writing rich descriptions. All relevant observation can be recorded. Uh, so, observational studies allows you to collect data on by observing characteristics, behaviors, and social interaction without relying on self-reporting. So observation may be conducted in real time, taking notes as you observe, or you might make audio-visual recordings for later analysis. That can also be uh, qualitative or quantitative. The next collection method could be media communications, psychology, education, physical sciences, uh, media communication, for example, collecting samples of text, for example, speeches, articles, and social media posts for data on culture, norms, and narratives. Psychology use technologies like neuroimaging, eye tracking, and computer-based tasks to collect data on things like attention, emotions, and other things. Education use, for example, using tests or assignments to collect data on knowledge and skills. Uh, Using scientific instruments to collect data, for example, where blood pressure, chemical composition, or any field equipment that you may be taking it to the field. So you see, we are discussing different technique, but you should know that if you are not sure which method will work best for your research, you should try to read some more papers in your field to see what kind of data collection methods other people are using. So maybe you find the best method for what is good for your specific. So the fourth would be secondary data as well. So if you don't have any time or resources to collect data from population you are interested in, you can also choose to use secondary data that other researchers already collect. For example, data sets from government survey or previous studies in your topic. So normally government publishes collect data, uh, whether they need it or not. Like they automatically come and updated with the passage of time. For example, census data that is available and is used when as and when acquired by the government, and similarly you can also use it in your own research. So secondary data can expand the scope of your research with much larger samples. So now you have a primary data, but which you may have collected with limited resources, or you may have, like uh, I said, you can choose just one data collection method, or you can use several methods in the same study. So if you have already collected uh, some data in your from other methods, and you can make the sample larger by collecting some secondary data in support of your primary data. However, it also means taking control over your variable. So you get the data, this is it. You cannot change it. You don't have any control, and this is what that is collected, and you have to take it as it is and draw whatever you can. Just you can't do much more with it. However, in other methods, you can change your variable, you can alter your population and everything, but in this case, uh, that you don't have that luxury. So the fifth step we have planned your data collection procedures. So you can choose just one data collection method or use several methods in the same study, operationalizing. Okay, so in planning, what you do is uh, you look into take into account the operationalization, like turning fuzzy ideas, abstract concepts like satisfaction, anxiety, confidence that people might have talked to you about in, let's say, interviews. So they may be using some terminology, speeches, and their poetic style, but you have to bring it some measurable indicators so on which you can then conduct your research. So, next important thing that you should consider is the reliability and validity. So, to make sure how reliable and how valid your data should be. So, reliability means the result can be consistently reproduced. So, if others do it, it doesn't matter how many times you do correct the data, it will be can be reproduced, and it is while validity means that you are actually meaning measuring concept that you are. So, like I gave you example of the students' satisfaction about the course. So you must have the knowledge that uh, your questions or your interviews or the data that you are trying that actually is relevant to the concept that you are measuring or whatever you are measuring or thinking. So reliability does your measures capture the same concept consistently over time? Does it produce the same result in different context? Uh, does all questions measure the exact same concept? And in validity, you have to answer question like, do your measurements material test all the aspects of the concept? Does it correlate with different measures of the same concept? So next thing you should consider the same thing procedure or kind of clean plan for how you will actually contact or report a sample in your study. So one is collection order, how you approach your let's say the sample. So it depends on which area you are talking. Let's say if we are giving quite a lot of example from the social sciences, let's say in a scientific way, in natural physical sciences, let's say if you have taking samples in with instruments, with certain instruments that you take it into the field, and you can collect a sample or record something on site in the field. So what you actually do is you know how to use that equipment to collect the samples, but uh, when and at what time should you collect it? That could also be an importance. Let's say if you are collecting some plants that are the plants are not available in that specific season, so you have to look at for a specific season to go to the field and collect the sample. So similarly, you may want to have some data collected in their natural habitat, so in their natural environment. So let's say there is some anthropogenic activity going on in your field or area, so in that case you may have to acquire it. So it's not just the collection procedure that you know that you collect the data. It's not the population that you not only the population, not only the measure, but the procedure in which you sample the data is also very important. So how many participants do you need to for an adequate sampling size? What inclusion criteria will you use to identify eligible participants? How will you contact your sample by email, online, by phone, or transfer on the field or in lab or whatever it could be? How to ensure a high response rate, probability method, that is, we discussed how to avoid biases like we can have a research biases in non-probability methods. So how are you planning to avoid those biases? So data management is the next step that you should keep into account. Organizing and storing your data. So this is very important. So if you do all the sampling everything correctly, but if your data is not organized, your data is not properly stored, it may not have any uh, fruitful outcome. So the best way uh, depends on what kind of data and which and how it depends on your research design in your study, how different data are kept in different manners. So you have to bring it into some format that you would easily uh, later on process. It could be in some database, it could be in form of some maps or some documents, reports, anything, but you should organize it in a way that you could later process it effectively and produce outcome. And that when you see it, when you look at it, and you know what is where in that, uh, it is easily searchable and it is safe and secure. Through your research and later on for archive. So the sixth step is deciding on your data analysis strategies. Uh, these could also be quantitative data analysis that we will discuss in our next session in detail. That would be statistics, some measurements, or qualitative data analysis, interpreting meaning, meanings, identifying patterns and relevant parts of anything. So the approach could be either thematic or discourse analysis. Uh, Thematic analysis will focus on contents of the data, involves coding and organizing data into identify key themes, and discourse is analysis for the putting data into context, involves analyzing different level of communication, language structure, and tone, etc. So uh, this is all about research design, and if you want to go for further reading, I have a couple of links here at the end of this uh, picture. Uh, then that you can visit for more details. Uh, and remember one thing: don't confuse yourself with different readings that you could do each and every writer depending on which background they are from. They may have different categorization and different way of classifying things in this research methodologies. But for you at this level, I try to simplify it as much as possible to uh, that would serve your purpose at this stage of your research career. So that's all for today. And if you have any questions, you are welcome.
Thank you
Thank you.
for today's material. Apakah ada pertanyaan? Is there any questions from students? Are there any questions?
In the next session, we probably wrap it up both the qualitative and quantitative data analysis because I believe that by now you have quite a bit idea about what qualitative is and what quantitative is. So right from the beginning, we are discussing qualitative and quantitative. So uh, I hope that will not take much of our time and resources for you to learn the difference between qualitative and quantitative data analysis. Um, in every session, we are discussing whether they are data methods or whatever the research design, the problem. In every session, in every component of the research, we were discussing qualitative and quantitative. So I hope that will be easier.
Okay. Are there any questions?
There are uh, um, we are in the 4th of October.
Pardon? There's some connection glitch just now.
I think if is there any question? If there isn't any questions, I just wanted to know that our next session will be on 4th of October because you have holiday
Yeah,
on 27th.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, I think thank you, Sad. There are no questions from students. Would you mind sharing the material to
Thank you.
us? I can give it to students. Thank you very much, Sad.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Goodbye and see
goodbye.
you in the next session.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
uh ya, terima kasih ya untuk mahasiswa sudah hadir. Em, Minggu depan ya, mulai 24, 25 untuk kelas eh, MPPI kita punya kuliah tamu ya dari praktisi, dan untuk 26, 27 ada workshop ya. Jadi saya sudah memberikan tugas selesaikan sampai bab 3 draftnya, proposalnya. Nanti di sana kita lihat komponen-komponennya bisa diperbaiki secara teknis ya untuk di workshop tanggal 26, 27. Dalam pengerjaan proposal ini sudah ada materi kan dari Dr. Sat ini bisa dipakai ya. Kemudian mungkin masih bingung cari judul ya. Nah, seperti apa sih judul-judulnya? Kalau nggak salah saya sudah lihat di minggu pertama ya, saya sudah kasih tahu kalau ada panduan skripsi ya. Nah, ada panduan skripsi Filkom yang bisa dijadikan panduan ya. Ikutilah format itu karena luaran ini adalah proposal ya. Proposal masing-masing individu. Jadi kalian udah melihat. Kemudian kalau nggak tahu judulnya seperti apa Pak, nah luaran skripsi dari kakak-kakak kelas kalian itu dibuat dalam format repositori ini juga selain dalam bentuk skripsi. Jadi nanti kalau kalian lulus harus menghasilkan jurnal dan juga luaran berupa skripsi ya. Nah, di sini kalian bisa lihat mau di sini misalnya kalian lihat arsip ya, JPTIK UPACID ini. Mungkin ada yang sudah tahu, ada yang belum. Nah, di sini nih ada arsip judul-judul skripsi yang pernah dikerjakan kakak kelas kalian. Nanti kalian bisa lihat contoh untuk judulnya. Kalau skripsi mungkin di ruang baca ya, atau di library mungkin ya. Nah, di sini dari dulu sampai sekarang ya, ada publikasi-publikasi misalnya Agustus 2024 ya. Untuk prodi TI dan prodi SI bisa dilihat di sini. Nah, rancang bangun sistem deteksi asma. Ini yang untuk TIF. Coba lihat mana yang lihat dosennya aja ya. Nah, misalnya di sini ini nih mesti SI nih. Aplikasi pengaruh kualitas, analisis pengaruh kualitas ini SI nih ya. Pak Weli mesti TI. Ya, ini TI. Ini enggak ya. Ibu Dian ini TI ya. Nah, ini Bu Retno PTI. Ya, silakan dilihat aja contoh-contoh judulnya. Kemudian kalau mau lihat dalamnya seperti apa ya silakan buka aja. Ya, seperti apa sih? Mungkin latar belakangnya nggak lengkap, ya karena kan hanya diambil inti-intinya. Tapi untuk bab 2 teori apa yang diikutsertakan, bab 3 metodenya, polanya seperti apa di sini ada. Ya, jadi silahkan dilihat-lihat dulu judulnya, mana yang menarik ya untuk proposal ini. Kalau memang misalnya belum ada judul, ya. Kalau misalnya sudah ada, silahkan dikembangkan dari situ. Nah, seperti apa sih karakteristik misalnya dari latar belakang? Seperti apa sih karakteristik dari basis hypothesis? Nah, di situ kan sudah ada ya di materi yang diberikan di Dokter Saad itu. Silahkan dibaca lagi, dipahami gitu ya. Nah, nanti tanggal 24, 25 itu ada kuliah tamu tentang kurang lebih materinya itu tentang ya sama, bagaimana menulis artikel ilmiah. Di situ bagaimana membuat latar belakang, silakan ditanyakan di kuliah tamu itu. Tanggal 24 dan 25 itu materinya sama. Jadi boleh datang salah satu, boleh datang dua-duanya. Ya, pasti akan tabrakan dengan kuliah kalian yang lain. Silakan masuk keluar aja ya, nggak apa-apa ya. Namun saran saya kalau memang udah tanggal 24 dipilih ya selesaikan di tanggal 24 ya. Tanggal 25 selesaikan tanggal 25 gitu. Jangan sampai ada yang 124, satu yang 25. Saran saya ya. Kemudian proposal tadi yang udah dikerjakan tadi dikerjakan direvisi berdasarkan masukan di tanggal 2 berdasarkan ilmu ya teori yang didapatkan di tanggal 24, 25, 26, 27 tuh sekalian tuh diselesain. Kalau hari itu bisa selesai proyek akhirnya ya bagus, ya udah selesai proyek akhir kalian gitu ya. Tapi kalau mau misalnya diselesaikan di akhir nanti silahkan juga ya. Tapi di situ kalian udah nyicil, udah sangat terbantu ya. Dan itu nanti eh, 2 pertemuan ya mungkin ya kita bisa libur di minggu 12 sama 13 ya, untuk kelas ini. Saya ganti nanti dua pertemuan di 12 13 jadi kalian bisa mungkin fokus ngerjain proyek akhir lain kan lumayan ya 2 jam. Nanti saya ganti gitu. Jadi kalian bisa agak apa ya waktunya kepake untuk ngerjain yang lain. Dan juga proyek akhir ini yang si proposal ini udah kalian cicil sekarang ya. Em, itu aja ya menurut saya. Nah silahkan dicek ini ya kalau masih bingung judul, pengen dan juga nanti skripsi mau ngapain, misalnya udah semester 6 memang masih setahun lagi, tapi dengan berkunjung ke sini kalian sudah hemat eh, hemat apa ya, hemat judul lah ya, hemat tahu judul dan bentuk proposal Filkom. Nanti kalian MBKM, magang, kalian udah belajar teknisnya, kira-kira yang bisa mendukung ini semester 6 udah itu bisa. Kalau nggak ada kuliah lagi ya, ngambil proposal misalnya itu eh, rasanya bisa cepet ya. Jadi intinya kan skripsinya itu yang kadang-kadang memperlambat. Tapi dengan adanya mata kuliah MPPE ini harapannya bisa cepet gitu ya. Jadi harapannya seminggu minggu depan 24 sampai 27 tuh dioptimalkan. Kalian coba latihan nulis, ngetik, jangan pakai AI ya. Boleh pakai AI kalau nyari ide harus nulis apa selanjutnya. Hanya saja ngetiknya itu ya. eh, eh, Latihan agar mampu melihat keterkaitan apa sih ini paragraf tentang apa, kaitannya ke yang lain. Paragraf ini bagus apa enggak ya, walaupun udah jadi belum tentu bagus ya. Terus artikel di luar sana tuh bagus apa enggak, harus bisa melihat itu ya harapannya. Kalau pemateri kita yang apa ya, praktisi kita yang kemarin yang minggu depan nanti eh, sudah cukup berpengalaman ya publikasi artikel ilmiah. Saya pikir sampai situ. Terima kasih ya untuk kehadiran hari ini lebih cepat. Bagus kalian bisa melanjutkan aktivitas. Perkuliahan saya akhiri. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Pak.
Ya, sama-sama.